Dafin and Vestra. Towards the place where the sun sets lay a land, where an emperor and an empress ruled. The bloom of their youth was already gone, but they had no children to support and help them in their old age. The sadness was harder than the old age. One day, they both fell into thoughts and burst into tears. They wept bitterly, and the wave of their mourning has crossed the borders of many kingdoms. At that time, there was an old hermit who knew the cures from all the herbs, and he came to the emperor's palace to sweeten the spring of their sorrow. They made room in the path for him to the high throne, where he knelt and handed the empress a bunch of grapes, and as the empress ate it, she became pregnant. Even the sun looked different to the emperor now. He returned to work and life, though that one day he summoned his soldiers, gathered his chariots, and set out on a hunt. Taking down wolves, foxes, rabbits, he had trodden for a long time, and the frontier of his lands had remained far behind them, but no one had taken note of this, and descending on the side of a rock, they found themselves in a great fortress, wide and deserted. They all went round that fortress, but saw nothing but stone. The emperor ordered. However, when they came to the stone slope, they could not climb back. The rock was too steep. They all began to wander back and forth like birds in a cage, but they could not find a way out. Days passed. They had no more game to eat. They had nothing else. The hunger tightened its grip. Another day and night passed, and at dawn they saw the devil walking along the wall of the fortress, puffing on his pipe. The warrior approached the emperor to report this.
Look, your grace! Devil! He's settled in this wilderness!
Some of the soldiers stand by the emperor and make him ask the devil.
Your darkest abomination, why did we not please you? Why did you imprison us in this fortress?
I did not imprison you. You came here.
Answers the devil.
Then maybe you will open the gate and let us go home.
I could if you present me with a gift.
What do you want?
Give me what you have in the palace, and you do not know about it, and I will let you out in an instant.
He felt that the devil had come up with something nasty, but he wanted to get out of the captivity more than any of these people, so he answered.
Come on, so be it.
Write a certificate for a gift.
The emperor called one of his men who could write, made him bite the tip of his finger, and wrote the order in blood, for he had no ink. As the devil received the order, the fortress walls went into the ground. They all went home happy, and when the king arrived at his palace, all the joy and happiness on earth had entered his heart. The empress had given birth to a chubby boy who grew up by hours rather than by days. They named him Dafin. In a few days he was all grown up. The emperor and the empress only had eyes for him, as the sunflower only has eyes for the sun. They have never been happier in their entire life. However, sometimes the more beautiful the spring flowers are, the more relentless the frosts will be. Suddenly, the devil came to the palace and asked for nothing else but Dafin. The emperor and the empress, startled and frozen with horror, had no time to say no, and the devil had seized the boy and turning like a whirlwind, off he was, and no one knew his trace. Dave and the boy didn't even know where he was taken, and on what land the devil let him go. There the devil would make him do various jobs. And what jobs? Hunger, insomnia, torment, and need were his companions. However, the boy endured, for he could not get out of the devil's way and will. Dafin was a special boy, but the most important thing about him was that he wanted to learn all the crafts. He also easily learned all kinds of languages, even the languages of birds, animals, and many more. Once the devil went to other realms, and Dafin remained alone. He worked for a while, and becoming thirsty, went to the spring.
Look, sisters, here is a strong fellow from beyond the kingdom of the devil. He is resting, but if he knew the old sorcerer's trouble, he would go, forgive him, and save the poor old man from the devil's condemnation. It's been 180 years since he is taking water from a bottomless well and pouring it into the valley, where the beautiful Vestra, kidnapped and enchanted by the devil, is coming to bathe now.
He leaped from under the tree and asked,
In what places and on what part of the earth is the sorcerer tormented?
Go down the valley 3 days and 3 nights, and you will find him.
Dafin set off and walked through the valley without stopping, without rest, and at the dawn of the 4th day he reached a large pond, so large that he couldn't see its edges. Far away, under the foot of the hill, there was a well, and a man who was constantly taking water out of it. When he approached him, he saw that he was so old that his skin had dried on him.
May the Lord help you, old man.
Thank you, good fellow.
Why do you take water out so furiously, bucket after bucket, as if you wanted to drain the well and leave it without the spring water?
Oh, good fellow, that's devil's curse. I have to draw water from the well and carry it to the pond. Nevertheless, who are you?
I'm a stranger, old man. The devil took me, and my mind no longer serves me. How can I be outside the borders of his kingdom and escape to sweet life?
The old man sat on the edge of the well and began to think.
Well, you can escape from here only with the help of Vestra, a young girl brought here by the devil from beyond the distant lands to become an instrument of evil. She already has devil's powers and knows demonic art, but in her heart, she is still pure like a baby. Walk on the other side of the lake and lie in wait for her. When she comes to swim, you grab her clothes and run away, but do not look back. If you do, you will immediately lose all power over her. I will bless you, and if you manage to get rid of the devil, you will live a happy life.
The words of the old sorcerer filled Dafin with joy. He immediately went to the place where Vestra was to come to bath, found a place to hide, and was silent. The stars are beautiful when they rise on the blue sky, but Vestra was more beautiful when she came down the hill to the shore of the pond. As the young girl worked, her body played, as the grass leaf plays in the wind. She stopped at the shore of the pond, dropped her clothes, and when she touched the water, she turned into a swan as white as snow and began to bath, flutter her wings, and play. No one would take eyes off her. However, Dafin let her do as she pleased. He secretly came closer, took her clothes, and off he was. He kept running as Vestra came ashore, and what a nasty surprise! Her clothes were nowhere to be seen. The whirlwind of fear ran through her heart. She looked back and forth, saw Dafin, and went for him. To make him stop, she started to sing and say sweet things to him.
Dafin, Dafin, sweet as honey, picked from flowers on beautiful days. Don't run away from me, don't run away. Look back, let's be together.
Dafin sighed. Dafin longed for her and cried. He so much wished to look back, but did not do such a thing. He went to the sorcerer's well, and when he put his hand on his shoulder, Vestra was standing next to Dafin. The old man gave the girl her clothes back, put the young people on their knees, and blessed them, so that their life be good and sweet, then took 2 rings out of the girdle and put them on young people's fingers. The young people got up, thanked him, and remembering the words of the birds, Dafin said,
Father, may you be forgiven and free from the devil's punishment.
and when he said this, it was as if the old sorcerer did not even exist. In an instant, the well and the bucket were gone, and he was no longer to be seen. Only grass was waving where they were. Their time to perish from this world was long due. Dafin remains engaged, but Vestra becomes sad and says,
We will not be able to cross the border of this kingdom until we received the will of the devil. You must go and ask for me from him.
Dafin went to the devil's palace. The road was long and difficult, but finally he saw a soot black fortress rise in front of him. He entered and saw the devil there.
Good morning, devil.
Hello.
The devil replied,
What vile wind brought you here?
I want to ask you to give me Vestra.
I will give Vestra to you if you carry out my 3 orders. If not, then shame on you.
You filthy darkness. I will obey your orders.
Okay. Come in the evening.
In the evening, Dafin went to the devil. The devil went out into the courtyard and, pointing to the sunset, asked him.
What do you see?
Dafin replied,
The edge of the earth.
What about noon?
Same thing.
If you want to marry Vestra, then until the morning plow this whole field for me. Sow wheat, grow and collect it, grind it, take it to the mill, and bring me fresh bread at sunrise.
After this command, fear and sorrow fell on Dafin's soul, just like the night falls on us when the sun goes down. Heartbroken, he came to Vestra and began to lament that he took the path to his peril, and no one would accomplish such a task.
Be quiet and don't be sad, because a thing like this is a piece of cake.
Vestra looked at the distant mountains. She whistled, and out of nowhere the devils swooped down.
This is what I want you to do by tomorrow morning. From the court of his darkness, for as far as you can see to the places where the sun rises and goes down, plow the land, sow wheat, grow the crop, harvest, grind, and as soon as the new day comes, present hot bread to me. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
Devils rode from all sides. They got down to work and did outstandingly well. Some plowed and others followed with a harrow. Some sowed and others crawled on all fours to warm the roots with their breath. The wheat was growing marvelously. When the night turned to dawn, the wheat was ripe. The devils began to mow and thresh. Some carried it to the mill. With the first morning light, the bread was already in the oven. Then the sun began to rise, Dafin and the warm bread fresh from the oven. Dafin, placing a large round loaf of bread on a napkin, took it to the devil.
Your darkness, your command is fulfilled.
He took the bread and went with Dafin to a cell with weapons and told him,
Choose a weapon to your liking. You will carry out my second order on the hunt. Come tomorrow and shoot a hare in my garden. However, remember, you will only hunt in my garden. Do you understand that?
Understood, your darkness.
Dafin replied, and went back to Vestra laughing.
Why are you laughing?
She asked,
How could I not laugh? If the devil made a fool of himself, does he really think it would be that difficult to hunt him a rabbit in the yard?
Don't laugh, Dafin, for you should be crying. This is not going to be a rabbit like all rabbits, but it is going to be the devil himself. Tomorrow, you must not chase him with arms, for you will never catch him. Get behind the palace door and wait. I will turn into a hound, will chase him, and will take him out of any place where he would try to hide. When he finally has nowhere else to go, let him enter the palace, grab him, and slam his head against the threshold of the palace as hard as you can.
The next afternoon, Dafin got behind the palace door, and the hound started chasing the rabbit fiercely. Finally, the long-eared creature, seeing that there is no escape from the hound, tried to sneak into the palace through the door. Dafin grabbed him immediately by ears and started slamming his head on the palace's doorstep. Goodness, what a pain it was! Bothered by noise and uproar, the deviless came out of her abode, and when she saw what was happening, she was first terrified and almost burst into tears. But then she pulled herself together and asked sharply,
Wait, Dafin, what is this fuss all about?
Well, his darkness ordered me to catch him a rabbit and have it cooked.
Leave it. Don't kill it. Give it to me and I'll take care of it myself.
Well, I have to give it to his darkness myself.
How can you give it to him if he's only coming back tonight? I'll have it cooked, and you will come tonight and eat it too.
All right.
Dafin gave her the rabbit and left the place at ease. The day ended, and he went to the palace to have some rabbit stew. The devil, transformed into himself already, received him well. He looked happy and told Dafin that he will get Vestra. He just had to come back the next day and pick her from his other girls. He looked happy and told Dafin that he will get Vestra. He just has to come back the next day and pick her from his other girls.
Why are you so happy?
How can I not be happy if he told me to take you and leave?
Alas, dear Delphine, you do not know how difficult this command is. You should be crying, not laughing. Tomorrow he will make you choose me out of hundreds and hundreds of girls like me. All will have the same face, the same hair, the same clothes. How will you know which one of them is me?
Well, I would recognize you even among the stars in the sky.
Don't say that, but listen to what I will tell you. Tomorrow, look attentively in the eyes of each girl and choose the one that will have tears in hers.
So they agreed. On the second day, Dafin came for his Vestra. The devil took him to a room where there were many girls, all like Vestra. Dafin looked at them for a long time, but could not find his betrothed. Who on earth could do that? They all were like leaves on a tree or threads of grass in a meadow. Fear tightened its grip. Suddenly, he saw it.
This is the one! Your darkness?
The devil got angry and imprisoned them in a deep dungeon behind 12 iron doors. There was only one tiny window in the dungeon through which a ray of light thin as a thread slipped in the prison cell. Grief fell on Dafin, but Vestra hit the ground with her ring, and they turned into small flies and got out through a crack. Now that they were free, they ran as fast as they could through the mountains and valleys away from the devil. However, the devil sensed that they were no longer in prison. He looked around and noticed them. He sent his devils after them and ordered to bring them back. The chasers were as fast as the lightning,
Oh! Something is burning me from behind!
said Dafin. Vestra looked back and knew immediately what was happening.
The chasers are catching up.
What shall we do?
Do not be scared. I will turn it into a blooming garden, and you will become an old gardener. When they get here and ask about us, you tell them that 2 people did pass by, but a long, long time ago, when you were planting this garden.
Vestra said this and immediately turned into a blooming garden with many different trees, and Dafin into an old gardener. The chasers came like whirlwinds in the garden and started asking questions.
Did you see a young woman and fellow?
I saw them a long, long time ago. I was planting this garden at that time. No one has passed by since then.
When the chasers had this, they were surprised and turned back. They said to the devil,
Your darkness. We went where you sent us, but we met no one except the gardener.
Ha! It was them! Go catch them!
and the chasers set off with greater spite and greater haste. After a long journey, they got close to Dafin and Vestra, who were trying to move as fast as they could.
Oh, my back is burning!
Dafin whimpered. Vestra looked back again and recognized the chasers.
They are catching up with us. Answer them as you have answered them before, but we will not be garden and gardener, but a field of wheat and an old man who is about to begin the harvest.
And at once he found himself an old man with a sickle in his hand by a large field of ripe wheat good to be harvested. As soon as he took some spikes and rubbed them in his palms to check the grains, the chasers were beside him.
Tell us, old man, have you seen a fellow with a girl here?
I saw them when I was sowing this wheat. Since then, no one has passed.
Chasers stared. They were shaken and turned back. They said, bowing to the devil,
Your darkness. There's no way to catch up with them. We met an old man on the way, and he told us that he had seen the fugitives, but it was a long time ago when he sowed wheat. Therefore, we came back. Who knows where they went?
the devil's heart had jumped. The devil stormed out of the castle. Wherever he stepped, valleys appeared, and his breath burned the ground. It seemed to Dafin that disaster was rising from behind, but Vestra knew that it was the filthy devil. She touched the ground with her ring and turned Dafin into a deep, full-flowing river and herself into a duck that swam along the waves. The devil, as he reached the river, looked at the duck and immediately recognized Vestra. He began to draw air in and raised a terrible storm. The devil strived to pull the duck to his mouth. However, the river shielded the duck with its waves. And carried it to another bend. No matter how hard the devil tried, everything was in vain. Seeing that he could not achieve anything in this way, the devil began to swallow the river water. He swallowed so much and finally burst out. Just as an inconspicuous path suddenly appears in front of those lost in the dense forest, so a clear, wide road opened before Dafin and Vestra. Joyful they went on the road. There the old king and queen were grieving for their son's fate. Since the devil took their son from them, the tears in their eyes have not dried. Their smile has not illuminated their faces, and their hearts could not contain grief. They have lived to the point to which they never hoped to live. Dafin came. Dafin was in the palace. Dafin was in front of them. As the sun with its rays disperses the darkness of the night, so joy lit up the faces of the parents. They threw a feast for the entire world and played their son's wedding with the beautiful Vestra. And I was there, drinking honey and beer, but having learned what happened to them, I did not sit out to the end.